The state of the metaverse is hilarious, to say the least, especially where Meta and Horizon Worlds is concerned. Billions upon billions, and I mean dozens of billions invested in this endeavor that basically currently has nothing to show for it. And the most recent information and data suggests that they've wasted even more money. So this is what the latest headline looks like. Meta lost $13.7 billion on Reality Labs in 2022 as Zuckerberg's Metaverse bet gets pricier. Not only are they spending more on Metaverse than before, but they're also reaping less rewards than before. So this $13.7 billion figure is for the entirety of 2022. That's how much money they spent on it. And a significant contributor to that was losses from the fourth quarter, which amounts to $4.28 billion. And highlighting the slow progress of the Metaverse is none other than words from Mark Zuckerberg himself, who told CNBC that he hopes to get to around 1 billion people in the Metaverse doing hundreds of dollars of commerce by the second half of the decade. Now that is an insane proposal. It's 2023 right now. Second half of the decade means from 2025 to 2030. Within that time frame, he wants to get 1 billion people to be using Metaverse, to be using Horizon Worlds. This is during a time when Horizon Worlds is struggling to garner hundreds of thousands of players. And sure, I don't know what the future is going to look like between 2 to 7 years from now, but given that the one thing that Meta has been consistent at when it comes to the Metaverse is continuously missing their targets and goals, I am not optimistic that they'll reach 1 billion users by the end of the decade. While Meta attempts to build up towards that future, they admitted that they expect Reality Labs operating losses in 2023 to grow significantly year over year. So in the short-term future, they expect that their Reality Labs division will continue to lose billions upon billions of dollars. Maybe there'd be more optimism if there was a climbing trend when it comes to revenue or users who are engaging with Horizon Worlds, but as Kotaku reports here, as they transcribed from Decrypt.co, Meta's Reality Labs only brought in $727 million in 2022 in the closing months of 2022. That figure is down 17% from the division's revenue in the same period of 2021. Horizon Worlds and Meta's Metaverse endeavors is trending downwards year by year. That's not a sign of something that's building towards something explosive. The current trend suggests that the Metaverse is dying rather than slowly building towards a brighter future. And there are numerous ways that Meta's Reality Labs division's billions of dollars worth of losses is being framed. Here's a Gizmodo article whose headline reads, Meta is spending more than $1 billion per month on the Metaverse. This was published earlier in February of 2023. The article breaks it down further by noting that in the first 3 quarters of 2022, Meta lost more than $9.4 billion. And on top of that, the latest fourth quarter's $4.28 billion loss, that's how you get the roughly almost $14 billion loss figure. And going back to the Gizmodo article, it is highlighted that losses are getting bigger and bigger. Between last year's third and fourth quarters, that rate of VR spending increased even more. The company lost an additional $4.28 billion on its Reality Labs in the last 3 months of 2022, compared with about $3.67 billion in losses in the preceding 3 months. As Gizmodo aptly summarizes here, spending on Meta's Metaverse projects has been increasing, while year-over-year revenue from those projects has been decreasing. As revenue lessens and as expenses grow, the losses get bigger and bigger every year. That's the current trend, at least. You know, one thing that Mark Zuckerberg is happy about, the fact that the layoffs that happened recently, 11,000 employees who were let go, the impact of the severance and other personnel costs recorded in the fourth quarter of 2022 was not material after offsetting with the savings from the decreases in payroll, bonus, and other benefits expenses. You'd only need a fraction of the billions of dollars that were wasted on this failing Metaverse endeavor to save the thousands of jobs that were lost, that were laid off. But to mega corporations like Meta, human beings are of less value than wasteful, failing endeavors like the Metaverse and Horizon Worlds. They'd much rather flush money down the toilet than save people's jobs and allow them to maintain their livelihoods. But you know what wouldn't be considered flushing money down the toilet? Buying products from the sponsor of today's video, Vessi, whose shoes I've literally been daily driving for the past couple months due to their multi-purpose, stylish, and waterproof conveniences. And recently they sent me this Stormburst style that is especially great for the winner. Not only do I really like the design of these shoes, I genuinely love how easy they are to slip on and how well they fit thanks to its stretchy and flexible material, which also makes these shoes comfortable, lightweight, and easy to move around in. But its main attraction is that it's completely waterproof. Not water resistant, waterproof. And let me tell you, I was glad to be wearing Vessi shoes these past few weeks in LA due to the uncharacteristic amount of rain we've been getting. At a recent convention that I attended, it was pouring and all my cohort's shoes and feet got wet and soggy while mine remained completely dry all day. All of the benefits of rubber winter boots without losing the comfort and conveniences of sneakers. The Stormburst model in particular offers additional protection to your ankles, making it even less likely that water or snow will seep inside. All the while, I never felt like my feet were being suffocated thanks to the patented Dymatex material that makes these shoes breathable and also adapt to the surrounding temperature. So in the cold winter, it'll keep your feet warm, while in the hot summer, it'll help let heat and sweat escape. Underneath, the soles are made to be grippy for all types of weather and terrain to protect you from slips and falls. If you're in the market for fresh, stylish, comfortable, protective, and waterproof shoes, use my link vessi.com/yongye to get 15% off your entire order. Unfortunately for Meta, I don't think even Vessis will save them from the torrential pour of failures that is their metaverse pursuits. Further highlighting the increasing expenses for Meta's metaverse is this IGN article from October of 2022 that recorded losses of $9.4 billion so far this year, referring to the first 3 quarters of 2022, which compares poorly to the $6.9 billion that were spent in the same period last year. News outlet Business Insider framed it another way. Meta has burned $15 billion trying to build a metaverse since the start of last year, as of the publishing of this article, October 14th, 2022. And for an even broader look into Meta's metaverse expenses, here's a Business Insider article that reported how from the start of 2019 to September 30th of 2022, Meta has plowed $36 billion into Reality Lab. That is an amount of money that the vast majority of the world population cannot even fathom. These expenses are so ridiculous that VR pioneer John Carmack, and also co-founder of id Software, spoke out by saying that he has real issues with the company's decisions and spending. I thought large fractions were really poorly spent, he said. This is someone who was once a Meta executive. He was the consulting CTO for Meta's virtual reality efforts, but he got so fed up with the piss-poor leadership that he decided to leave the company. And in a scathing exit memo, Meta VR expert John Carmack derided the company's bureaucracy, stating that I have never been able to kill stupid things before they cause damage. These news outlets got a hold of an email that John Carmack sent to staff where he expressed just how fed up he was with the work environment, the piss-poor leadership. And John Carmack, since he saw this news come to light, eventually just decided to release the email that he sent to staff. And you can pause and read this for yourself if you so desire. He basically talks about how all of the potential of VR that he believes in is being completely squandered by leadership that have no idea what they're doing, that are completely misguided, and are spending money in the worst ways possible. Right here is a tweet from John Carmack that reads, as anyone who listens to my Unscripted Connect talk knows, I've always been pretty frustrated with how things get done at Facebook/Meta. Everything necessary for spectacular success is right there, but it doesn't get put together effectively. So much money has been wasted, and instead of finding ways to spend more efficiently on VR and Metaverse, the company instead decides to sacrifice the livelihoods of 11,000 people because leadership is unable to course correct or take responsibility and accountability for their own failures. But hey, they got some grand plans incoming, like allowing Meta's VR hellscape to be inhabited and invaded by children. The company's planning to open its flagship VR app to users aged 13 to 17. What could go wrong? The internet is already filled with toxic behavior, and this is toxicity that comes as a result of the anonymity that people get to have on the internet. Imagine all of that translated into an environment where people can anonymously not only engage via words, but also via body motion, via their avatars. There have already been plenty of articles and reports about the messed up behavior that occurs in virtual reality and the lack of regulation there. So now let's just bring children into it. That should go great. Then again, who knows if Horizon Worlds will be able to attract even the attention of children and adolescents and keep them engaged. As reported by The Verge here, in January of 2023, only around 1 in 9 users on Horizon Worlds returned the next month. The retention rate of Horizon Worlds is abysmal because in its current state, all it is an unfinished, unpolished, and completely hollow video game. It is essentially a VR MMO with none of the things that make an MMO fun. Now, Meta is fully aware of how awful the retention rate of Horizon Worlds is, which is why Gabriel Aul, Meta's vice president, wrote in a most recent memo that user retention is the team's highest priority for the first half of 2023, and that he specifically wanted to target teenagers and young adults. But that's a rather ambitious task for Meta given the slow rollout of features for Horizon Worlds, as highlighted by The Verge here, noting that it only just introduced a dedicated jump button last month and is still working on creating legs for its avatars. A jump function and legs for character models. Two of the most basic things a video game could have, they're struggling to put out in a timely fashion. But even with its unbearably slow progress, Meta has been bumping up their goals, hoping to reach 500,000 monthly active users in the first half of 2023 and 1 million by this year's end. And they're also planning a 2D version of the Metaverse available on desktop and mobile devices that don't require a VR headset to try to boost numbers to get more people to partake in Horizon Worlds by making the software itself more accessible. The last time Meta set a goal, it didn't go well. Back in October of 2022, The Verge reported that Meta had once set a goal of reaching 500,000 monthly active Horizon Worlds users by the end of 2022, but Horizon Worlds underperformed so epically that they were forced to bring that goal down to 280,000 monthly active users by the end of the year. But even that vastly diminished goal was something that Meta couldn't achieve, as reported by Business Insider here, noting that they changed the 500,000 monthly active users goal figure to 280,000, but documents show the platform has less than 200,000 current users. And there are a number of factors that contribute to this, as highlighted by Business Insider, from the fact that the Quest 2 VR headset is expensive, especially when Meta decided to increase the price tag across the board by $100 because of component shortages and the like. The experience of Horizon Worlds itself is far from ideal due to baffling branded content, persistent bugs, and empty worlds with no user interactions. This is very much a live service with way too few players for it to be sustainable. Only 9% of worlds built by users are ever visited by at least 50 people. And the real kicker is the piss-poor retention of Horizon Worlds, because this is a hollow and dead enough feeling game lacking in substance that most users generally don't return to the app after the first month, while more than half of Quest 2 headsets are out of use within 6 months. And you know things are really bad when employees are barely using the company's own products because of how buggy it is, because of how useless it is, because it makes productivity worse, because it takes more steps to do basic things that you can just do in the real world. Meta's employees are so unenthused by Meta's Metaverse that executives have to force and beg employees to use it. They have to tell employees things like, everyone in this organization should make it their mission to fall in love with Horizon Worlds. You can't do that without using it. How about you apply the inverse logic to that, Meta? You cannot be motivated to use something that is hard to love. You can't force people to fall in love with a product. It's something that has to happen organically by the merits of what the product offers. So, I mean, what more is there to say aside from highlighting all the things I've already highlighted, articles that have headlines like skepticism, confusion, frustration inside Mark Zuckerberg's Metaverse struggles. You've got people being baffled by the $1,500 VR headset that they recently released, the Quest Pro. The fact that basic features like avatar legs are being promoted like it's the frickin' Super Bowl. The fact that Horizon Worlds has become the butt of many jokes because of just how awful and dead and empty it looks. And no matter how much Mark Zuckerberg wants to present spruced up graphics, it still lacks soul. Frickin' PlayStation Home from 2007 had better graphics and looked more live than this. The general conclusion that people seem to be coming to is, as reported here by Intelligencer, is that its official Meta is a disaster, which is why the stock price of Meta tanked by 67% from a year earlier as of 2022, which resulted in them losing about $700 billion in market value. Now, we have seen a recent uptick in their stock price because their recent financial report actually proved to be positive, but that's in other divisions that are not related to Reality Labs and the Metaverse. They could have had significantly better financial results if it wasn't for the losses incurred by their Metaverse endeavors, and employees wouldn't have had to suffer if the money wasted on this failing product and endeavor was used to support the employees that Meta is responsible for as an employer. These are mega corporations we're talking about. They want to play God with the money and resources that they have and want to use humans as disposable, expendable tools. But it gives me great glee to know that a mega corporation's flagship endeavor, an endeavor so important that the company changed their entire name to suit that endeavor from Facebook to Meta, is failing so epically, especially when it's an endeavor that was born not out of the intent of making the world a better place or giving users something genuinely useful, but rather to exert more control over people's lives and their personal information, and to create an environment where they'll be able to exploit people and milk their wallets all the more. Well, at the very least, that's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on the current state of Meta's Metaverse endeavors and the continuous losses that they're incurring and the traction that they're failing to get. Do you think that the Metaverse can one day become something of substance, or do you think this is a downwards trend that will lead to an unceremonious demise? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.